Hi, this is Marie Spalding of Living Felt. Welcome to our creative design studio, where today we have for you a little tutorial on the different ways wool is processed. We'll talk about wool batting, wool sliver, wool roving, and wool top, help you make sense of the difference between each, and hopefully shed some light on which you might choose depending on the project you're working with. Whenever we talk about processing wool, we need to start with it in the form that it comes off the sheep. This is a lovely sample of dyed locks that we have here in our studio. And when you get wool off a sheep, it might be various lengths or various curls depending on the breed. When wool comes right off the sheep, the first thing that we do is pick it to remove the vegetable matter, and it gets washed and scoured, and then it gets put on a carding machine. The carding machine's job really is to mix up the fibers and produce a nice mat. A sample of a carder are these nice hand paddles. This is a hand carder. You would put the wool fibers right on this bed of teeth, and this paddle also has a bed of teeth where we comb the fibers and create a nice mat. You can use this to make your own small bats or even to do some color blending of pre-processed wool in your own studio. But in industry, we use a large drum carder to produce a nice lofty bat like this. This is an example of our merino cross batting. When you look at a batting up closely, the thing you'll notice is that the fibers are all mixed up and going in different directions. This is a wonderful processing stage for felting because, as you know already, we need to mix the fibers up so that we get a nice interlocking to create a nice strong felt. So these wool battings are wonderful to work with because they're already so mixed up and blended. The other thing we really love about them is that you can cover a large surface area without a lot of effort. Whether you're making a wall hanging or a pair of boots or a pair of hats, you can get the layout done very quickly. But what's also interesting about them is they're fabulous for working in miniature 3D needle felting sculpture. There's something about the blend of these breeds and the blending of the fiber that creates a nice smooth finish. Now, these aren't to be confused with a pre-punched bat. Needle felted bats are also known as pre-punched bats, and they're more square, and they've actually been felted to some degree, but this is just called a carded bat. The next phase in the processing is called a sliver. The sliver is also produced on the drum carder, and this actually goes one more level in the processing stage. So what's different about them primarily is how they're removed from the carder. While one is taken off the carder in a nice big sheet, this is peeled off the carder into these nice uniform widths. One of the things we love about the New Zealand Corriedale line is the vibrance of color and the really smooth uniform color that it has. When we look at this up closely, we see that more of the fibers are going in the same direction, yet on closer inspection we see that it still has the natural crimp left to the fiber, and when we pull them apart, we can see that they still are mixed up and going in different directions, and these are standard characteristics of a sliver. Now, sometimes on the internet we see people marketing this very same product, New Zealand Corriedale Sliver, as a roving. And really, a roving has been processed one more time and given an additional twist, which makes it a perfect preparation for making a yarn. It doesn't really matter whether you buy a sliver or a roving, both should work great for needle felting or wet felting. But after a sliver, the next process that we have in the felting projects is top. This is a sample of our lovely merino top. And what we see with a top is that it's very smooth, it's very fine, and all the fibers are definitely going in the same direction. A top has been processed to one more degree with a combing machine, and the combs remove all of the short fibers, so it doesn't look hairy, it looks very, very smooth, and also you'll see that almost all of the natural crimp of the wool has been straightened out. So this is a merino top. A look at this sample might help shed even more light. This is an example of our merino silk top. And what you see in this sample is that we have various shades of purple and also this nice bright white silk. And so we look at it closely and we can see that the fibers are definitely very straight and all going in the same direction. That is what you'll notice when you're holding a top. Now, top is really great for wet felting projects, particularly fine projects like a nice fine evening bag, even a nice very fine wall hanging, and can be great for projects that are next to the skin like a scarf or a hat. If you want to use it in your needle felting projects, you'll need to spend a little time mixing up the fibers so that you don't get the look of the striations that you see when all the fibers are in the same direction. So we'll look at that in the next segment when we talk about handling our fibers for felting.